Catherine Mason wrote another equation on the classroom's hallboard. Behind her, the curved windows of Luna University showed Earth hanging like a blue marble in space. 23 students watched as she explained quantum tunneling, their neural tablets recording every word. "And this is why particles can sometimes pass through solid matter," she said, tapping the floating numbers. "Any questions?" "Ah!" A loud bang echoed through the metal walls. Catherine froze. In 10 years of teaching, she'd never heard that sound in the pressurized corridors of Luna Base. The classroom door exploded inward. A massive figure in black armor stepped through the smoke. Blood dripped from his armored gloves. The students screamed as the killer raised a pulse rifle. "Nobody move," the man said through his helmet speaker. "I'm here for the special ones." Catherine's earthborn instincts kicked in. While her students were born in space stations and lunar colonies, she had grown up in Earth's heavy gravity. Her muscles and bones were different, stronger. The killer fired at the ceiling. "Stand up, all of you," against the wall. Catherine's mind raced. The emergency button was under her desk. Security would take 4 minutes to arrive. Too long. She watched her terrified students line up. Young faces she'd taught for months. Lisa Chen, Paul Martinez, William Baker. All children of the brightest minds in the solar system. The killer checked a device on his arm, scanning each student. "Just as I thought, gene markers. All of you. Perfect specimens." Catherine moved slowly toward her desk. The killer turned. "The Earthborn teacher," he said. "Your kind shouldn't be teaching up here. Your bodies are too dense. Too dangerous." "These are just kids," Catherine said. Her hand inched closer to the alarm. "The kids who carry the future in their blood." The killer aimed at Lisa. "Time to clean the gene pool." Catherine's body moved before her mind could stop it. She grabbed her metal desk and lifted something impossible in lunar gravity unless you had earthborn strength. The desk flew across the room, slamming into the killer's rifle. Students scattered. The killer staggered back, surprised by her strength. "Impossible. The gravity here is 1/6 of Earth's," Catherine finished. She stood between him and her students, legs braced in a fighter stance, which means I'm 6 times stronger than I should be. The killer pulled out a blade. "Interesting. The reports were right about you, Deathworlders. See what else you can do." Catherine's heart pounded. She saw the fear in her students' eyes, saw the blood on the killer's armor. And she realized with sudden clarity that this was no random attack. Someone had sent him. Someone knew about these kids, about their parents' work, about genetic markers that shouldn't exist. The killer charged. Catherine prepared to fight for her students' lives, knowing this was just the beginning of something much bigger than a classroom attack. She had no idea how right she was. The killer's blade sliced through the air where Catherine had been a second before. She pushed off the classroom wall, using lunar gravity to her advantage. Her Earth-trained muscles launched her across the room like a missile. "Run!" she shouted to her students. They scrambled toward the broken door, neural tablets forgotten on their desks. The killer was fast, but his space-adapted body couldn't match her raw strength. Catherine grabbed a piece of the shattered doorframe, wielding it like a club. Metal rang against metal as she struck his armor. "Security forces are coming," she said, breathing hard. "They're already dead." The killer's laugh echoed in his helmet, just like the guards in Section 7. Lisa Chen screamed from the hallway. Catherine's blood went cold. More attackers. She kicked the killer hard enough to dent his chest plate, then sprinted into the corridor. 2 more armored figures were herding her students toward the emergency pods. Red emergency lights pulsed along the walls. "Professor Mason," Paul Martinez called out. "They're taking our blood samples." Catherine saw the needle guns in their hands. Each student was being tagged and processed like lab specimens. Her mind flashed to the killer's words about gene markers. "The children of Project Darwin," one attacker said. "All in one place. How convenient." Catherine ripped a fire extinguisher from the wall. Lunar gravity. It made a perfect projectile. The metal cylinder smashed into the first attacker's helmet, cracking his visor. Students scattered in both directions. The second attacker fired his needle gun. Catherine rolled, feeling the sting as one dart grazed her arm. The world started to blur. "Get to the mining levels," she shouted to her students. "The old tunnels?" Ah! The corridor spun. Whatever drug they'd used was fighting her earthborn metabolism. Catherine stumbled, caught herself on a wall. Behind her, heavy boots approached. "Your DNA readings are even better than theirs," the killer's voice said. "A pure Earth strain, uncorrupted by space adaptation. Perfect." Catherine's vision cleared just enough to see uniformed figures approaching from both ends of the corridor. Luna Security, finally responding. But something was wrong. "Stand down," the security captain said. "We'll take it from here." The killer didn't react, didn't run. Instead, he nodded to them like they were all on the same side. Catherine's heart sank as she understood. This wasn't a random attack. This was a government operation. Her students weren't just children of scientists. They were experiments. And now she knew too much. She pushed off the wall hard, using her remaining strength to dive through a maintenance hatch. As she fell into the service tunnels, she heard the security captain's voice. "Find her and check her blood type. If she's really an Earthborn, she might be exactly what Project Darwin needs to fix the genetic split." Catherine tumbled through darkness, realizing she wasn't just fighting to save her students anymore. She was fighting to save the future of the human race itself. Catherine's boots hit the metal grating of the abandoned mining level. The air was stale, filtered through old recyclers that hummed in the darkness. She counted her students as they emerged from different maintenance shafts, 18 out of 23. Her heart ached for the missing 5. "They took Lisa," Paul said, holding his bleeding arm where they'd drawn blood. "And the twins." Professor Mason, William Baker, stepped forward, his face pale in the emergency lights. "Our parents are not just scientists, are they?" Catherine checked the tunnel junction ahead. "No, they're genetic engineers. And you're their work." The truth hurt, but they needed to understand. The students huddled closer as she explained. "Humans weren't meant to live in space. Our bodies break down, our bones weaken. Your parents were trying to fix that. They were creating a new kind of human." "But why do they want you?" asked Mary Foster, the youngest at 16. "You're from Earth." A distant bang echoed through the tunnels. They were being hunted. "Because Earthborn humans are different," Catherine said, leading them deeper into the maze of corridors. "Our bodies evolved under heavy gravity for millions of years. We're stronger, more resilient. They need my DNA to stabilize the changes they made to yours." William touched his neural implant. "We can call our parents. Tell them." "Don't." Catherine grabbed his hand. "The implants. That's how they're tracking us." The students looked at each other in horror. The devices they'd used every day to connect to the net, to learn, to live, were now their biggest threat. "We have to cut them out," Paul said. "No time." Catherine heard boots on metal, getting closer. "This way." Old emergency pods. They ran through the darkness, their footsteps echoing. Catherine's earth-trained lungs burned in the thin air. The mining levels had been abandoned for years since the automated machines took over. They reached a sealed door. Catherine's muscles strained as she forced it open. Inside was a row of escape pods covered in dust. "These are ancient," Mary said. "They might not even work." "They'll work." Catherine started powering up the nearest pod, because they were built on Earth, built to last. The door at the far end of the tunnel burst open. Guards poured in, weapons raised. "Step away from the pods," the security captain ordered. "Those children are government property." Catherine stood in front of her students. "They're not property. They're the future. The future you're trying to control. The future." The captain laughed. "Look at their DNA readings now. The changes are accelerating. In a few hours, they won't even be human anymore." Catherine turned to her students. Their skin was changing, taking on a metallic sheen. The genetic modifications were evolving faster than anyone had predicted. And somewhere in her own blood was the key to controlling it all. The captain raised his weapon. "Last chance, Professor. Come with us, or we'll take them by force." Catherine slammed the pod's launch button. Alarms blared as the security team opened fire. Her earthborn reflexes let her dodge the first volley, but she felt a burn as one shot grazed her shoulder. "Everyone in!" she shouted. The students scrambled into the pod's cramped interior. Their skin glowed brighter now, veins pulsing with unnatural light. Paul grabbed a fallen guard's weapon. "Professor, catch." He tossed it to her as he climbed aboard. Catherine's fingers closed around the familiar weight of a military-grade stunner. "You're making a mistake," the captain said. Those kids won't survive the trip to Earth. The changes are too fast. We're not going to Earth. Catherine fired 3 precise shots, dropping the front line of guards. We're going to the one place you can't follow. She backed into the pod, stealing the door as more security forces poured in.
Nice.
The ancient engines roared to life, shaking decades of dust from the launch tube. The research station, William said, his voice changing as his throat adapted to the thin air. The one they shut down, in the belt. Catherine nodded, punching in coordinates. Your parents' original lab, before the government took over? The pod rocked with weapons fire. Warning lights flashed across the console. They had seconds before the guards could override the launch sequence. Mary screamed. Her fingers were fusing together, becoming webbed, perfect for working in zero gravity. The changes were accelerating. Hold on. Catherine fired the engines. The pod shot forward, blasting through the emergency airlock. Behind them, the Luna base grew smaller against the star-filled black. They're following, Paul said, watching the radar. 3 military ships. Catherine's hands flew over the controls. Her own skin tingled, starting to change. Whatever they'd injected her with was spreading. Fighting against her Earthborn DNA? Professor William pointed at her arm. You're changing too? I know. She gritted her teeth against the pain, but different than you. My DNA is fighting back. The pod shuddered as the first military ship locked on. A voice crackled over the radio. This is Commander John Harris. Return to base immediately. This is your only warning. Catherine recognized the voice, her old friend, the one who had recommended her for the teaching job. John, she said, you knew about this. We all did, Kate. It's necessary. Humanity needs to evolve to survive in space. Your students are the key. Now so are you. The students watched her, their altered eyes glowing in the dim pod, waiting for her choice. Catherine looked at the radar, at the military ships closing in, at the distant belt of asteroids where answers waited. Her body burned with changes she couldn't control. Then she saw it. A massive solar flare building on the sun's surface. Deadly radiation that would fry any normal ship's systems? But they weren't normal anymore, not any of them. Hold tight, she said, turning the pod directly into the coming storm. We're about to do something impossible. The solar flare erupted, reaching for them with fingers of plasma and radiation that no human should survive. The solar flare hit them like a wall of fire. The military ships scattered, their systems overloading. But inside Catherine's pod, something incredible happened. Her students' modified bodies began to glow brighter, absorbing the radiation. Their skin turned reflective, metallic patterns flowing like liquid steel. Laughed in amazement as the energy coursed through him. We're not dying, he said. We're adapting. Catherine felt it too. Her Earthborn DNA was merging with the changes, creating something entirely new. Her muscles grew denser, stronger. Her mind expanded, connecting with the pod's systems. The military ships are coming back, Mary said, her webbed hands dancing over the controls. Commander Harris's voice cut through the static. Catherine, your pod's structure is failing. You'll burn up. Let us save you. He was right. The old pod was breaking apart, metal plates peeling away in the solar wind. But Catherine smiled. You don't need the pod anymore, she said.
Look, whoa.
Her students' bodies had transformed completely. Space itself seemed to bend around them, creating protective bubbles of energy. They were becoming living ships. This is what your parents really created, Catherine told them. It's not just humans who could survive in space, humans who could become one with it. The pod's viewport cracked. A cold vacuum rushed in. Everyone out, Catherine ordered. Trust your bodies. They pushed out into open space. Catherine's transformed muscles fought against the vacuum. Her skin hardened, creating its own atmosphere. She reached for her students with hands that glowed like stars. The military ships opened fire. Energy beams sliced through space, but the students moved like mercury, flowing between the shots. Natural-born pilots and bodies built for the void. They're not going to stop, William said, his voice carrying through the vacuum somehow. They'll hunt us forever. Catherine looked at the distant asteroid belt, at Earth shining blue and green, at her students, no longer bound by gravity or ships, or the old laws of human limitation. Then we'll give them a choice, she said. Help us build a new future, or watch us build it without them. She raised her transformed hands. Energy pulsed from her fingers, connecting with her students. Together, they created a shield of pure light that no weapon could pierce. Commander Harris's ship hung before them, weapons powered down. "What have you become?" he asked. "What we were always meant to be," Catherine answered. "The bridge between Earth and space, between past and future. We are both human and more than human." She turned to her students, her children of two worlds. "The universe is open to us now," she said. "We can go anywhere, be anything. Who's coming?" 18 hands reached for hers, glowing with stellar fire. Behind them, Earth turned slowly, the cradle they'd outgrown. Ahead lay infinite space, waiting for the new humans who could dance among its stars. Commander Harris watched them go, knowing humanity would never be the same. The Deathworlder teacher had done more than save her students. She had evolved the human race,